My name is Olivia, and I'm 34 years old. Last week, I gave my parents a brand new silver Lexus RX for my father's 70th birthday. They cried with joy and called me their blessing. But just 7 days later, while helping my mother find her heart medication in their bedroom drawer, I discovered their estate planning documents. My hands trembled as I read through their will. My name wasn't there. Not anywhere that mattered. Before I share what happened next, let me know where you're watching from. If you've ever felt betrayed by family, please subscribe and share your story in the comments below. Growing up as the eldest of 3 children in our Connecticut home, I learned early what was expected of me. Set the example. Be responsible. Never complain. My father Jim was an engineer who believed in discipline and hard work, while my mother Margaret had spent 30 years as a nurse before retiring 5 years ago. They raised us in a modest 2-story colonial house with green shutters and a wraparound porch, where Mom would sit every evening watching the sunset over our quiet suburban street. I was the one who never caused problems. While my younger brother Kevin struggled through school and barely graduated high school, I was valedictorian. While my youngest sister Ashley dated every troublemaker in town, I spent Friday nights studying for my SATs. My parents would always say the same thing at family gatherings. Olivia is our rock. Olivia never lets us down. Olivia will make something of herself. And I did. 4 years of pre-med at Yale, then 4 years of medical school at Harvard, followed by a residency in cardiology. By the time I turned 30, I was a practicing cardiologist at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, earning enough to live comfortably and then some. The day I got my first real paycheck, I called my parents. I want to help, I told them. You've done so much for me. That was 10 years ago. Since then, every single month without fail, $3,000 has transferred from my checking account to theirs. Mom, you don't need to worry about the mortgage anymore, I would tell her. Dad, stop stressing about the property taxes. I've got it covered. Meanwhile, Kevin had turned 31 and developed a gambling problem that everyone pretended not to notice. He lived in a studio apartment in Hartford, working odd construction jobs when he felt like it. Every few months, he would call me with a new crisis. Olivia, I'm in trouble. Just $5,000, I swear I'll pay you back. The first time I believed him. The 5th time, I just transferred the money without expecting anything in return. To date, Kevin owes me $42,000 that we both know I'll never see again. Ashley, now 29, had taken a different path. She dropped out of community college after 1 semester to marry Robert, a real estate developer, 20 years her senior. The marriage lasted exactly 2 years, just long enough for her to walk away with a hefty settlement. Now she floated between boyfriends, each one wealthier than the last, posting photos of yacht parties and designer handbags on Instagram, while calling our parents maybe once a month. But I was always there. When Dad's credit card debt spiraled to $45,000 after he tried day trading in retirement, I paid it off without him even asking. When their roof started leaking during a particularly harsh winter 3 years ago, I wrote a check for $25,000 for a complete replacement and a new heating system. When Mom's car broke down, I handled it. When Dad needed dental implants, I covered it. When their property taxes increased, I absorbed it. I never kept a running tally, but if I had to estimate, I'd given my parents over $400,000 in the past decade. Not loans. Gifts. Because that's what family does, right? You take care of the people who raised you. You show gratitude for all the sacrifices they made. Kevin would show up at their house maybe once every 2 months, usually when he needed something. He'd raid their refrigerator, complain about his life, hint about his latest financial crisis, and leave with either cash from Dad's wallet or a promise from me to handle it. Ashley graced them with her presence on major holidays, arriving late in whatever luxury car her current boyfriend drove, spending most of the visit on her phone, and leaving early with vague excuses about other commitments. But every Sunday, I drove the 2 hours from Boston to Connecticut. Every Sunday, I sat at their dinner table and listened to Mom talk about her garden and Dad complain about the neighbors. Every Sunday, I helped with whatever needed fixing, cleaning, or organizing. And every Sunday, they would tell me how grateful they were to have at least one child they could count on. Last month, when Dad mentioned his upcoming 70th birthday, Mom sighed. "We don't need any fuss," she said. "At our age, birthdays are just another day." But I saw the way Dad's eyes dimmed a little, the way his shoulders sagged. 70 was a milestone. 70 deserved something special. The idea came to me during one of my Sunday visits in early June. Dad was standing in the driveway staring at their old Honda Accord with its peeling paint and rattling engine. "This thing's on its last legs," he muttered, kicking the tire gently. "But cars are so expensive these days. We'll make it work a while longer." That's when I knew what I wanted to do for his birthday. Not just any car, but the car he'd been dreaming about since before I was born. Back when I was young, he would always slow down whenever we passed the Lexus dealership. One day he would say, "One day I'll drive one of those." But life happened instead. 3 kids, a mortgage, college funds that never quite materialized, medical bills, retirement that came with less savings than planned. I spent 3 weeks researching visiting dealerships, test driving models. It had to be perfect. Silver because that's what he'd always pointed out. The RX model because he needed something practical but luxurious. Every feature he could want: heated seats for Mom's bad back, the premium sound system for his jazz collection, the safety features that would give me peace of mind as they got older. The price tag was $65,000. I'd saved more than that for a house down payment, but I was happy renting for now. This was more important. This was my chance to give back something meaningful, something that would show them how much their sacrifice and love meant to me. I coordinated everything for the party, called Kevin and Ashley multiple times to make sure they would be there, ordered catering from Dad's favorite Italian restaurant, decorated the house while they were at their weekly doctor's appointments. The car was the final surprise, hidden at the neighbor's house with a giant red bow on top. The day of the party arrived on a perfect June afternoon. The weather was warm but not humid, with a breeze that made Mom's wind chimes sing on the porch. I arrived early to set everything up, my heart pounding with excitement. This was going to be perfect. Kevin showed up 2 hours late, reeking of bourbon and cigarettes. Sorry, he mumbled, grabbing a plate of food before even wishing Dad a happy birthday. Traffic was crazy. We all knew there was no traffic on a Saturday afternoon from Hartford to our parents' house. Ashley arrived with her latest boyfriend, Marcus, a 45-year-old investment banker who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. She air-kissed Mom, gave Dad a side hug, and immediately started taking selfies in front of the decorations. "Marcus is thinking about buying a place in the Hamptons," she announced to no one in particular. Isn't that exciting? But I pushed aside my irritation. Today was about Dad. After we ate and cut the cake, I stood up, my hands shaking slightly. "I have one more surprise," I announced. "Dad." "Mom, could you come outside?" The look on their faces when they saw the Lexus was everything I'd hoped for. Mom gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. Dad stood frozen, his eyes filling with tears I'd only seen once before at his mother's funeral. Is this for us?" he whispered. "Happy 70th, Dad. Thank you for everything you've done for our family. You deserve this and so much more." Mom grabbed me in a hug so tight I could barely breathe. "You're our blessing, sweetheart. We don't deserve a daughter like you. We really don't." Behind us, I heard Kevin mutter something to Ashley about, "Must be nice to have money to throw around." Ashley was already posing next to the car, getting Marcus to take photos for her Instagram. But I didn't care. The joy on my parents' faces was worth everything. Dad drove the car around the block 3 times, grinning like a child on Christmas morning. Mom sat in the passenger seat, running her hands over the leather interior, playing with the radio buttons, adjusting the mirrors. When they finally parked back in the driveway, Dad hugged me for the first time in years. "I love you, Olivia. You're everything a parent could hope for." That night, driving back to Boston, I felt a warmth in my chest that money couldn't buy. I'd done something good, something meaningful. I'd given my parents a piece of the dream they'd sacrificed for us. I had no idea that within a week I would discover exactly what they thought my sacrifice was worth. The following Saturday, I drove down for my regular visit. Mom was in the kitchen making her famous pot roast, the smell filling the house with comfort and memory. Dad was in the living room, already enjoying his new car by sitting in it in the garage earlier, just to feel the leather seats he'd admitted with a sheepish grin. "Honey, could you grab my heart medication from our bedroom?" Mom called from the kitchen. "It's in the top drawer of my nightstand. And check if I need a refill, would you?" I headed upstairs to their bedroom, a space I rarely entered anymore. It still looked exactly as it had when I was a child. The same floral wallpaper, the same heavy wooden furniture, the same wedding photo on the dresser. I opened the nightstand drawer, pushing aside reading glasses and old receipts, looking for the prescription bottle. That's when I saw the thick manila envelope labeled in Mom's careful handwriting, estate planning. Documents. February 2024. I shouldn't have looked. I know I shouldn't have. But February 2024 was just 4 months ago. They'd updated their will recently, without mentioning it to any of us. My hands moved before my conscience could stop them. I pulled out the envelope and removed the documents inside. Last will and testament of James and Margaret Patterson, the top page read. Witnessed and notarized on February 15th, 2024. I started reading, my heart beating normally at first. Standard language about sound mind and body, about revoking all previous wills. Then I got to the distribution of assets. The house valued at $850,000, according to a recent appraisal attached to the will, was to be divided equally between Kevin Patterson and Ashley Patterson Chen. My eyes read it twice, thinking I'd missed something. The savings account containing approximately $200,000 was to be divided equally between Kevin Patterson and Ashley Patterson Chen. The investment portfolio, including stocks and bonds worth roughly $150,000, was to be divided equally between Kevin Patterson and Ashley Patterson Chen. The new Lexus RX Silver was to be given to Ashley Patterson Chen. My name appeared exactly once in the entire document, in a section titled Personal Statements. My mother had written, "Our eldest daughter, Olivia, has been blessed with tremendous success and financial independence. As a successful doctor, she has no need for inheritance. We trust she understands that her siblings require more support." I sat down on their bed, the papers trembling in my hands. Over $1 million in assets, and not a penny to me. The car I had just given them was going to Ashley. The house I'd helped maintain for years would be split between my siblings who barely visited. My throat felt tight, my chest hollow. All those years of support, all those Sundays, all that money freely given, and this was what they thought of me. I was the successful one who didn't need anything. I was the ATM, not the daughter. Olivia. Mom's voice drifted up from downstairs. "Did you find it?" "Found it?" I managed to call back, my voice surprisingly steady. "Be right down." I took a photo of every page with my phone, then carefully put everything back exactly as I'd found it. The medication was behind the envelope. I grabbed it and headed downstairs, my legs feeling like they belonged to someone else. Dinner was agony. Dad talked excitedly about the car, about how he'd shown it to all the neighbors. Mom fussed over whether the roast was too dry. They asked about work, about my patients, about whether I was dating anyone. Normal questions on a normal Saturday, except nothing felt normal anymore. Every time Dad smiled at me, I saw those words, "Olivia has no need for inheritance." Every time Mom patted my hand, I thought about that car being promised to Ashley. Every kindness felt like a performance now, every expression of love seemed hollow. "You're quiet tonight," Mom observed as I helped clear the dishes. "Everything okay?" "Just tired. Long week at the hospital. You work too hard, sweetheart. But we're so proud of you, aren't we?" "Jim." Dad nodded from his recliner. "Our superstar," he agreed already. Drowsy from dinner. I left earlier than usual, claiming I had to prepare for a presentation on Monday. They walked me to my car, the new Lexus gleaming in their driveway like a $65,000 monument to my stupidity. "Drive safe," Mom said, hugging me. "See you next Sunday." Of course I lied. The 2-hour drive back to Boston gave me plenty of time to think, to replay every moment of my childhood looking for signs, to remember every time they'd praised my independence while coddling my siblings, to count every sacrifice I'd made that apparently counted for nothing. By the time I reached my apartment, I wasn't sad anymore. I was furious. For 3 days, I didn't sleep. I would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, running through 34 years of memories with this new lens of understanding. Every instant suddenly made sense in the worst possible way. When I was 18, I'd gotten into Yale with a partial scholarship. I still needed loans for the rest. Kevin was 15, then Ashley 13. I remember asking my parents if they could help with the tuition. "Sweetheart, you're so smart you'll figure it out," Mom had said. "We need to save for your brother and sister. They won't have the opportunities you have." So I worked 3 jobs during undergrad. I tutored, I waited tables, I did overnight shifts at a call center. Meanwhile, when Kevin barely graduated high school and decided to try community college, my parents paid his tuition in full. When he dropped out after 2 semesters, they paid for his apartment so he could find himself. When Ashley wanted to go to art school, then culinary school, then finally community college for a business degree, she never finished, they paid for it all. "You're so responsible, Olivia," they would say when I'd come home exhausted from working doubles. "You're going to be such a success. We never have to worry about you." The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. I'd been trained from birth to be the giver, the provider, the one who never needed anything. And I'd played the role perfectly, so perfectly, that they felt comfortable writing me out of their will entirely. On the 3rd night, I called my friend Sarah, another doctor who understood complicated family dynamics. "Let me get this straight," Sarah said after I'd explained everything. "You've given them $400,000 over 10 years. You pay their bills. You visit every week. You just bought them a luxury car. And they left you nothing because you're too successful. That's exactly it. And the car you just gave them is going to your sister, according to the will. Yes. Olivia, that's beyond messed up. That's cruel. They think they're being fair. Kevin and Ashley need it more. Kevin, who gambles away every penny, and Ashley, who dates millionaires, need it more than the daughter who actually takes care of them." When she put it that way, it sounded even worse. The next morning, I made a decision. I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I couldn't sit through another Sunday dinner knowing what I knew. I needed to confront them. I called my mother that afternoon. "I need to come by tomorrow. There's something important we need to discuss. Is everything all right? You sound upset. Just be there tomorrow. Both of you." The drive to Connecticut felt longer than usual. I'd rehearsed what I wanted to say 100 times, but the words kept jumbling in my head. How do you tell your parents that they've broken your heart? How do you explain that it's not about the money, it's about what the money represents? I arrived at 2 in the afternoon. They were both in the living room looking concerned. Mom had put out cookies and coffee like this was some kind of social visit. "What's this about, sweetheart?" Dad asked. I didn't sit down. I couldn't. I stood in front of them like I was presenting a case at the hospital. "I found your will," I said simply. "When I was looking for Mom's medication last weekend, I found your will." The color drained from both their faces. Mom's hand went to her throat. Dad shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "That's private," Mom said quietly. "Private." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You want to talk about privacy? Let's talk about how privately you decided I don't deserve a penny of inheritance while promising everything to Kevin and Ashley. Now, Olivia." Dad started his voice taking on that patronizing tone I remembered from childhood lectures. "You have to understand. Understand what? That you think I'm not really part of this family. That all my support over the years means nothing. That the car I just gave you is going to Ashley when you die." "You're being dramatic," Mom said. "You're successful. You make more money than any of us ever dreamed of. Your siblings struggle. They struggle." I was almost shouting now. "Kevin struggles because he gambles away everything he touches. Ashley struggles because she refuses to work, just bounces from rich boyfriend to rich boyfriend. I worked 3 jobs to get through school while you paid for everything for them." "That's different," Dad said. You were capable. They needed more help. I needed help too. I needed parents who saw me as more than just the responsible one. Do you know what it was like working overnight shifts and then going to organic chemistry at 8 in the morning? Do you know how many times I ate ramen for a week straight so I could afford textbooks? But you made it. Mom said like that justified everything. Look at you now. A successful doctor. You did it on your own. I didn't want to do it on my own. I wanted parents who helped me the way you helped them. And even after I made it, as you say, I've done nothing but give back. $400,000, Mom. That's what I've given you over the past 10 years. And what do I get written out of the will because I don't need it? The money shouldn't matter to you, Dad said, his jaw tightening. Family isn't about money, you're right. It's not about money. It's about being valued. It's about recognition. It's about not being erased from your legacy because I had the audacity to be successful. That car in your driveway, $65,000. And according to your will, it's going to Ashley. The house I helped maintain split between Kevin and Ashley. The savings account that exists partly because I pay your bills, Kevin and Ashley. They're your siblings, Mom said weakly. They're strangers who share DNA with me. When's the last time Kevin called you just to talk? When's the last time Ashley helped you with anything? You're being selfish, Mom said, and those 3 words hit me like a physical blow. This is ugly, Olivia. This isn't like you. You know what's ugly? Being told I'm selfish after everything I've done. Being called selfish for expecting to be treated like an equal member of this family. If you were doing all those things expecting something in return, Dad started. I was doing them because I loved you, because I was grateful, because I thought we were a family. But apparently I'm just the bank, not the daughter. I turned to leave but stopped at the door. You should probably start figuring out your finances. The monthly transfers stop now. And that car, I'll be taking it back. It was a gift to parents who loved me, not to parents who see me as nothing but a convenient ATM. Olivia. Please, Mom called after me, but I was already gone. I sat in my car in their driveway for 5 minutes, waiting for one of them to come out to fight for me, to say they were sorry. Nobody came. That evening I called my Aunt Linda, my mother's older sister who lived in California. Linda had always been the black sheep of their family, the one who moved far away and only visited on major holidays. Now I was beginning to understand why. I heard about the car, Linda said after I'd said hello. Margaret called me, gushing about how generous you are, how you're the perfect daughter. I laughed bitterly. So perfect they wrote me out of their will. Silence on the other end. Then they did what I explained, everything. Finding the will, the confrontation, the years of financial support that apparently meant nothing. Linda listened without interrupting, occasionally making small sounds of disgust. I wish I could say I'm surprised, she finally said. But your mother has always been this way. Even when we were young, she had this idea about who deserved what, based on who she thought needed it more. I got a job at 16, so suddenly I didn't need new clothes for school. Our brother Tommy was struggling in math, so he got the tutor while I was told to figure it out myself. You've never told me this before. You were so young, and then you were so devoted to them. I didn't want to poison that well. But Olivia, honey, you've been designated the strong one since birth. In their minds, strong people don't need help. Strong people don't need inheritance. Strong people exist to prop up the weak ones. But Kevin and Ashley aren't weak. They're just enabled. Of course they are. But your parents need to see themselves as saviors, as protectors of their struggling children. You don't let them play that role. You're too accomplished. It threatens their narrative. That's sick. That's family sometimes. Listen, there's something else you should know. I talked to Kevin last month. He called me looking for money, of course. But he let slip that he owes your parents about $80,000. Gambling debts they covered to keep him out of trouble. My stomach turned. They paid his gambling debts but couldn't help with my college. And Ashley's been telling everyone that once she inherits the house, she's going to sell it immediately and move to Miami with whatever boyfriend she has at the time. She's already looked into real estate values. They're going to sell the house your parents think they're preserving for the family legacy. Yes. As soon as the funeral's over, I'd bet. I hung up feeling both vindicated and heartbroken. The next few days brought the expected onslaught. Kevin called me 15 times, leaving increasingly angry voicemails. "You're destroying this family," one said. "Mom's crying all the time. Dad can't sleep. All because you're jealous of us. You have everything. Why do you need their money too?" Ashley's approach was different. She sent long, dramatic text messages about family bonds and forgiveness interspersed with vague threats. "Marcus says you could be sued for emotional distress. Taking back a gift is fraud. You're going to regret this when they're gone and you have no family left." I blocked them both. For 2 weeks, my parents maintained radio silence. Then on a Tuesday evening, my mother called. Her voice was small, defeated. "The bank called today," she said without preamble. "We're behind on the credit card payment. That's no longer my concern, Mom. We had to take out a loan to cover the bills. Kevin can't help. He's having a hard time finding work. Ashley says Marcus is having financial troubles and can't spare anything." I almost laughed. Marcus, who supposedly was buying a place in the Hamptons, couldn't spare anything. I'm sorry to hear that. "This isn't you, Olivia. This vindictive person isn't the daughter we raised." "You're right. The daughter you raised would have kept giving until she had nothing left. The daughter you raised would have accepted being erased from your will without complaint. The daughter you raised would have continued being the family ATM while watching her siblings get everything. That daughter is gone. We made a mistake," she admitted quietly. "We should have included you in the will. But can't we fix this without all this drama, without taking back the car, without cutting us off? You can fix it by treating me as an equal member of this family. Change the will. Make it fair. Acknowledge that I deserve the same inheritance as Kevin and Ashley, not because I need it, but because I'm your daughter too. We'll think about it. That's not good enough anymore." 2 days later, I received a certified letter from an attorney. My parents were demanding I return the $3,000 from the current month since I hadn't given them notice of stopping the payments. I laughed until I cried, then forwarded it to my own lawyer. The matter of the car was more complicated. Since it was a gift, they technically owned it. But my lawyer found a loophole. The car was still within the return period, and I was still listed as the purchaser with right of return. We initiated the return process, which required the vehicle to be surrendered within 7 days. I hired a tow truck to pick it up from their driveway while they were at church. Was it petty? Absolutely. Did I care? Not anymore. The fallout was immediate. Kevin left a voicemail so full of expletives, I saved it in case I needed a restraining order. Ashley tried a different tactic, showing up at my hospital during my lunch break. "You're really doing this?" she said. Designer sunglasses pushed up on her perfectly highlighted hair. "You're really going to leave them with nothing?" "I'm leaving them with exactly what they left me. Nothing. They're old, Olivia. They need help. Then maybe the 2 children who are inheriting over $1 million can provide that help." "You always were jealous of us," she said, examining her manicured nails. "Because we knew how to enjoy life while you just worked all the time. Because Mom and Dad actually worried about us instead of treating us like we were invincible." "Is that what you think? That I wanted them to worry about me? You wanted them to see you as something other than perfect Olivia who handles everything. Well, congratulations. Now they see you as the daughter who abandoned them over money." I abandoned them. I gave them $400,000. I gave them every Sunday for 10 years. I gave them a car they're promising to you in their will. Who really abandoned whom? She left without another word, but not before taking a selfie in front of the hospital sign. "Living my best life while dealing with family drama," the Instagram caption probably read. I started therapy the next week. Dr. Williams, a kind woman in her 60s who specialized in family trauma, listened to my story with a practiced neutrality that somehow felt more validating than outrage would have. "You were parentified," she said simply. "From a very young age, you were given the role of the responsible one, the one who takes care of everyone else. Your siblings were allowed to be children to fail to need. You were never given that permission. But I succeeded. I became a doctor. I have a good life. At what cost? You succeeded because you had no other choice. Failure wasn't an option for you because no one would have caught you if you fell. Your parents created a dynamic where your success was expected and your siblings' failure was cushioned. She was right. Every achievement of mine was met with, "Of course, you did great," while Kevin and Ashley's minimal efforts were celebrated like victories. The will is just the physical manifestation of what's always been true, Dr. Williams continued. In their eyes, you don't need them. You never have. So they feel free to give everything to the children who do. But I did need them. I do need them. Of course you do. Every child needs their parents' love, support, and recognition. But they've mistaken your competence for independence, your success for not needing love. They've confused financial stability with emotional self-sufficiency. 6 months have passed since I found that will. 6 months since I confronted my parents. 6 months since I took back the car and stopped the financial support. The journey hasn't been easy, but it's been necessary. The first month was the hardest. I'd reach for my phone on Sundays, ready to make the drive to Connecticut, then remember I wasn't welcome there anymore. I'd see something funny and want to call my mom, then remember she thought I was selfish and vindictive. The habits of 34 years don't die easily. My parents tried different tactics as their financial reality set in. First came anger, then bargaining, then guilt. Mom sent me a photo of Dad looking sad on his birthday. Kevin forwarded their overdue bills with passive-aggressive notes. Ashley created a GoFundMe that portrayed me as the wealthy daughter who abandoned her elderly parents, though it raised less than $500 before she deleted it in embarrassment. But I also started building something new. With the $3,000 a month I was no longer sending them, I started traveling. I went to Greece, something I'd dreamed about since college, but never felt I could afford while supporting everyone else. I stood in the Parthenon and cried not from sadness, but from the freedom of finally choosing myself. I joined a book club, something I'd never had time for during all those Sunday visits. I started dating Michael, a fellow doctor, who understood complicated families and never once suggested I should just forgive and forget. I volunteered at a free clinic, giving back in a way that felt meaningful instead of obligatory. 3 months after our confrontation, my mother called late one night. She was crying. Kevin had been arrested for running an illegal gambling ring. He needed bail money, lawyer fees, probably more. Ashley's boyfriend Marcus had left her for someone younger, and she was broke, having spent her entire divorce settlement on maintaining appearances. "I wanted to help," she sobbed, "but we don't have anything left. The loan payments, the credit cards, the mortgage we had to take out again. Olivia, we're drowning." I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I meant it, but I wasn't sorry enough to dive back in to save them. A month later, I heard from Linda that my parents were considering selling the house they'd planned to leave to Kevin and Ashley, the house I'd helped maintain for years. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'll have to downsize, Linda told me. A small apartment, probably. Kevin's facing jail time and Ashley's moved back in with them. It's a mess. I waited to feel satisfaction, but all I felt was sad. Not sad enough to rescue them, but sad for the family we could have been if they'd seen me as a person instead of a resource. Last month I received a letter from my father. His handwriting, once so strong and sure, looked shaky. Dear Olivia, I've been thinking about what you said, about being erased. I never thought of it that way. In my mind, we were protecting you from the burden of taking care of your siblings after we're gone. We thought the money would be their inheritance, and your freedom would be yours. I see now how wrong we were. You gave us everything, and we gave you nothing in return except expectations and obligations. Your mother and I failed you, not the other way around. We're changing the will. Equal distribution between all 3 children. It won't be much left to distribute at this rate, but it will be equal. You deserve that from the beginning. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect you to come back. But I needed you to know that I see you now. Really see you. Not as our blessing or our strength or our success story, but as our daughter who we failed to love properly. I'm sorry. Love, Dad. I've read that letter 50 times. Each time I feel something in my chest loosen a little more. Not enough to go back. Not enough to resume the financial support, but enough to consider answering the phone next time they call. My therapist says healing isn't linear. Some days I'm angry at them all over again. Some days I miss them so much it physically hurts. Most days, I'm just learning to be Olivia, not the responsible one, not the family ATM, not the perfect daughter. Just Olivia. The money I've saved from not supporting them has gone into a down payment on a small cottage near the beach. My first real home bought with money I didn't give away, chosen because I wanted it, not because someone else needed it. I'm planning to have a housewarming party next month. I might even invite my parents, though I haven't decided yet. Kevin is serving 18 months in minimum security prison. Ashley is working for the first time in her life as a receptionist at a dental office. My parents are living in a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, their house sold to cover their debts. The car I gave them and then took back was never mentioned again. Sometimes I drive past the Lexus dealership and remember my father's face when he saw that silver RX in the driveway. The pure joy, the tears, the pride. For a moment, I'd given him his dream. The fact that he was willing to give that dream to Ashley when he died doesn't diminish what that moment meant. It just means I've learned the difference between a moment of gratitude and a lifetime of appreciation. I've also learned that family isn't about blood or obligation or sacrifice. It's about mutual respect, recognition, and love that doesn't keep score, but also doesn't erase you from the board. The family I'm building now, with friends who see me, a partner who values me, and mentors who guide me, feels more real than the one I was born into ever did. People ask me if I regret taking back the car, stopping the support, walking away. The truth is, I regret not doing it sooner. I regret the years I spent believing that love meant giving everything and expecting nothing. I regret accepting scraps of affection while serving a feast of devotion. But I don't regret choosing myself. I don't regret demanding recognition. I don't regret refusing to be erased from a will and a family narrative that positioned me as the strong one who needed nothing while everyone else got everything. The will has been changed now, according to Linda, who still talks to them. Equal distribution between all 3 children. Of what's left, anyway. The house is gone. The savings depleted, the investments liquidated to pay debts. In trying to preserve everything for 2 children, they lost it all for 3. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to stop enabling their disrespect. I lost my inheritance on paper and I gained something priceless. I gained self-respect. I gained freedom from the role I never asked to play. I gained the ability to love without depleting myself, to give without disappearing, to be generous without being erased. They say you can't choose your family, but that's not entirely true. You can't choose who you're related to, but you can choose who deserves your time, your energy, your resources, and your heart. I chose to stop giving those things to people who valued my gifts more than my presence, my support more than my soul. Would I do it all differently if I could go back? Maybe. I might have set boundaries earlier, might have asked for help when I needed it, might have refused the role of family savior from the start. But I can't go back. I can only go forward one Sunday at a time, building a life where I'm seen, valued, and never erased. The car was just a catalyst. The will was just paper. The money was just numbers. But what they represented, the dynamics they revealed, the patterns they exposed, those were the real inheritance my parents left me. An inheritance of understanding, of clarity, of finally seeing the price of being the responsible one. I'm still a doctor. I still help people. I still give generously to causes I believe in. But I no longer give myself away. I no longer accept being written out of the story while funding the entire narrative. I no longer confuse being needed with being loved. My parents are in their 70s now, facing a future they never planned for, supported by children they enabled instead of the one they relied on. It's not the ending any of us expected, but maybe it's the one we all needed. They needed to learn that their strongest child was still their child. My siblings needed to learn that the family bank was closed. And I needed to learn that sometimes the most responsible thing you can do is stop being so responsible. The last time I drove through my old neighborhood, I saw my father waiting at the bus stop. The man who once dreamed of driving a Lexus was now relying on public transportation. Our eyes met for a moment. He raised his hand in a small wave. I waved back. Then I drove on in my own car bought with my own money toward my own life. Sometimes love means holding on. Sometimes it means letting go. And sometimes, like in my case, it means taking back what was yours all along. Not the car, not the money, not even the recognition, but yourself. Your whole, complete, unerased self. That's the real inheritance I claimed. And no will, no parent, no family dynamic can ever take that away from me again. Looking back now, I realize this story probably sounds familiar to many of you watching. How many of us have been the responsible one? How many of us have given everything only to find out we're valued more for what we provide than who we are? How many of us have been written out of wills? Not on paper, but in the daily dynamics of family life that says, you're strong, you don't need help, you'll figure it out. If you're watching this and seeing yourself in my story, I want you to know something. It's okay to stop. It's okay to say enough. It's okay to demand equal treatment, equal recognition, equal love. Not because you need it financially, but because you deserve it fundamentally. I want to hear from you. Have you ever discovered something about your family that changed everything? Have you ever had to choose between being the responsible one and being respected? What would you have done if you found that will? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, if it made you think about your own family dynamics, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that they're worth more than what they give, that they deserve to be seen as more than the family ATM. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't build a life on a foundation where you don't exist. Choose yourself not because you're selfish, but because you're worthy of the same love, recognition, and inheritance as everyone else. Until next time, take care of yourselves. And remember, the strongest thing you can do sometimes is admit you need and deserve just as much as everyone else.